In this example, we are told a coin was flipped 50 times. So there are 50 trials, the number of times we did the experiment. So part A says to us, how many trials are in this experiment? There are 50. It was repeated 50 times. What is the theoretical probability of getting a head? So the probability of getting a head. When you throw a coin, there is one head and two possible outcomes, a head or a tail, which we can write as a half or 0.5. For part C, it says to us, what number of heads would you expect? We would expect half of our throws to give us a head. So we would have 50 times a half or 0.5, which is 25. We're expecting 25 heads and 25 tails. This example continues on from the previous one. It is the coin that has been flipped 50 times and 27 heads were obtained. Part A says, consider the experimental probability of obtaining a head in this experiment. In this particular experiment, it was 27 heads out of 50 tosses. As a decimal, that is 0.54. Part B says to us, how does this compare to the theoretical probability? The theoretical probability was 0.5. In our experiment, we got 0.54. So what can we say? It is very similar, but not quite the same. Part C says to us, if you flipped 5,000 times, would you expect the experimental probability for obtaining a head to increase or decrease, or stay the same? Explain. Okay, the more times you repeat an experiment, the closer it will become to the theoretical probability. So when we did this 50 times, we had a theoretical probability of 0.5 and the experiment was 0.54. It happened to be a little bit bigger. Sometimes it will be a little bit lower. Sometimes it will be the same. The more times, though, we repeat an experiment, the closer we would expect the experiment to be to the theoretical. So, how do we answer this? We would say the more times an experiment is carried out, the closer the experimental probability will be to the theoretical probability. So because our experimental probability was a little bit above our theoretical probability, we would expect it to decrease so that it becomes closer to the theoretical